Good evening, people. It's a late one. There is no Spurs fans tonight, so relax. No need to panic. The boys are out doing Christmassy things, and to be fair, it's mad. Content at the moment is crazy. Everyone's out and about drinking, everyone's eating, everyone's getting merry and festive. And Lee was out tonight doing exactly that. How are you, bruv?
I'm all good, thank you very much. Yeah, just got in, so nice little meal out with the family. Like it's my mum's partner's birthday today, Bill. So it was his birthday, so I've gone out with something to eat. Unfortunately, he's one of them. Danny's one of them, but he's a good one. I always feel sorry for anybody having their birthday in and around this time because I think everybody's got other things on their mind, whether it be going out partying or Christmas shopping. And do you know what? I think I've noticed with a few people that they're all tired at this moment in time, whether they're doing the shopping, working, rushing it all through. Like, you know, it's not a relaxing time, is it? Christmas, it's a lot of pressure build up towards it for just a day of eating and drinking, really, isn't it? Like, you know, but we do it every year. We look forward to it, but I find the old shopping and all that very stressful now, Dan. How about you? Like getting, you know, you've got young nephews and that, and you're like, I think that's a tough thing nowadays. I do.
Yeah, online, mate. I do it all online.
Lazy,
all online, mate. I can't be. Honestly, I can't be bothered now. Walk around the old shops and all that. I used to do like late night shopping and all that, and I'm like, nah. I can't be dealing with people walking like zombies in shops, mate. It drives me insane. I mean, supermarkets just about enough, isn't it? You know, but when it comes to online now, mate, you got Amazon, you got Vinted, which people are destroying at the moment around Christmas, and fair play to them. But mate, for me, you got to get involved with the online bit, mate. Click a button, 3 days later, it's with you. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you know, I perhaps a little bit of the tradition in me. I do like doing a little bit of shopping, going down. Like went down Lakeside yesterday, have a look around there, and I do like to go into London and have a look at the lights and things like that. Like, you know what I mean? I've still got that. I have got that bit of festive.
That's fair enough. No, looking at the lights and all that, getting involved in it, I can get that, mate. I'm with you there. I love going a lot. Anything around London at Christmas is class with the lights, I think. Like, you go Covent Garden, go Punch the look at the big tree, look at the street entertainment. It's class, man. My favourite time of the year, I must say. I love Christmas. Absolutely love it.
I do like it. I do like that you get to see fair. And like Steve just said there, you have a bit of time off, which is great. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm going to say it now. Is it the quickest week of the year?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean, that week now. Like, if people are going off today and tomorrow, before you know it, it's the 2nd of January and you're back in it.
Back in. I literally, our office shuts up tomorrow, and it'll be back open before you know it, mate. And it's crazy, isn't it? It really is crazy.
It's crazy. Like those few days just go before you know it. It'll be the weekend, and then you're sort of going, "Oh no!" Like, you know what I mean? Look, New Year's Day's here. And then, like, the reality 6, you got to go back to work the next day, like, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, absolutely. Fair play to you, mate. Listen, big game this weekend and lots of transfer news, which is going to open in the next couple. And we're going to talk about the game and the transfer news that is rumoured to be in the sources at the moment in a minute. But we are going to talk about what's been happening so far. And I think it's been fair to say that in 17 games, Lee, if you would have said to us, this is the position Arsenal were in, other than the frustrations of the Carabao Cup against West Ham, it's been near on pretty much decent, ain't it? I mean, to say the least. So I wanted to talk about what we've seen so far just briefly and then go into some of the players and give them some ratings, because I think me and you were talking about where we're at with some of that. And I think that'll be really interesting for what people are going to give, and get involved in the chat as well.
Yeah, get involved in the chat, because we want to know this. We're going to give everybody a mark out of 10. And you know, like, it will be not. I'm going to turn the chat off. I'm going to not look at the chat, because I don't want to be influenced by anything, what I'm going to say. And then I'm going to look back at it and see what people are saying, like, you know what I mean? Because I want to know what everybody's take is on every sort of player at the moment. Like, so I don't want to be influenced by it. So I'm going to give a mark. And then what I think is going to be, it'd be interesting to see what all you guys have got to say about it. And if you're not watching this live and you're watching it on catch up and all that, put your comments in the comments below, because I'm really interested in seeing this, because I think this season, here we are, top of the league after 17 games. I don't think we're playing nowhere near as well as what we did last year, when you look at the statistics of Martinelli, Saka and Jesus, for instance. But I'm more confident that we can win the league this year than last year. I know that sounds funny. I don't know if it's because
Just on that, do you think that's because of how we set up, or do you think it's the teams around us, i.e., Man City, looking like they're not quite on it full cylinders? Liverpool, likewise, look like they can be beat. Why do you think that?
I think a little bit of Man City not quite as potent as were they last season. You do watch the eye a little bit. I don't think that City are at the standards of last season. I think last season was exceptional. I look at last season and think like things like with City at this moment in time. I still think they've got very, very good 11, as we know, but there's no Mahrez there this season. There's no Gundogan in there this season. Players that would back up those players. Fantastic. Every time Mahrez come in, he'd score or get a hat-trick or something like that. Now they've got Rico Lewis coming in, very, very good player. Going to be a fantastic player in a couple of years. So not quite at that standard of last season. I would say, Dan, and I've been really honest with you, looking at the Arsenal team at the moment, I think 5 or 6 of our players are not at the standard they were last season. So maybe if they can hit the heights going into the next part of the season, could be great for us. But I also feel that, and someone said this to me the other day, and I tend to agree with this. Last season, by this time last season, it was only us and Manchester City in it, really. I think that it's helpful that there's a couple more involved, because it means that there's
the Liverpool and Villa as well.
Yeah, so there's 4 or 5 involved this time around, maybe 6. So it just means that there's more up for grabs, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know. I see what you're saying. Last season, I think Liverpool were out of it by this stage. Manchester United were sort of making the recovery, and then they dropped. So it'd be very, very interesting. But a real good point was made yesterday where I was talking on another show, and we were saying, we think you can win the league this year and whatever. I go back to 98. At this stage, if you'd have said Arsenal were going to win the league that year, I wouldn't have gone on with it. I think we was 6th place at something like. We went on a run we was unbeaten until the title was won. So no one's out of it at this moment in time, really. So, but you just, even after 17 games, you cannot tell if there's going to be a genuine title run and challenge from Arsenal, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Spurs, Man United. The only one team that's going to be there and thereabouts at the end of the season is Man City. So it is interesting at this moment in time.
Yeah, very interesting. Right, let's get involved, man. Let's get the chat involved as well. Let's start with it. I'm only going to pick the players that have made between 5 and 10 appearances for Arsenal so far in the 17 that we've had. I'm not going to go into El Nenis and Cedric, so I don't see the point of that personally. So let's start with the goalkeeper, mate. Let's go with David Raya, because there has been question marks over him this season. I want you to tell me what you're going to give him out of 10 and get the chat involved as well. What would you give David Raya so far out of 10 this season?
I'm going to give him a 6. I don't think he's been spectacular at all this season. I don't think he's really set the world alight. They made a few mistakes, but has made some positive inroads as well. Made some good. Evening, Adrian. Evening. I ain't spoke to Adrian.
Yeah, it's been a while. I need to get him back on, man.
Yeah, we're getting back on. He'll be finished from work now. So yeah, there have been times when I felt he's done okay. But I don't think he's been spectacular. That's my opinion at this moment in time. So I'm going to go 6 out of 10.
Listen, I'm with you. I think it's harsh to give him anything lower than that, for the pure fact that he hasn't been a shambles and he hasn't been one good game, one bad game. I think the amount of mistakes that he has made has definitely cost us points, though, Lee. So I am going to say that a 6 out of 10 is probably a fair one. I think David Raya is now our number 1, and I think Aaron Ramsdale, unfortunately, is history and will be sold, whether it be this window or the next one. So David Raya is the new Arsenal number 1. I don't think he's been an upgrade on Ramsdale. I think someone in the chat, as Adrian's just said, exactly the same thing. I don't think he's been any upgrade whatsoever. However, there are certainly...
I'll go along with that.
Well, that's not hard. I think I'd do better than him. There are some of his attributes that I do like, David Raya. I'm not going to sit there and say that any of them are 100% better than Aaron Ramsdale, though. So I think a 6 out of 10 is fine. Let's come to Ben White, because I'm not going to give Ramsdale. He's only played a couple of games only here and there. Let's go to Ben White. What have you made of him, man?
Well, nowhere near at the standards of last season.
I
Nowhere
agree.
near. Nowhere near. Like, I would be saying that this time last season, I was saying 8, maybe bordering on a 9. But this season, I think his performances have not got anything better than a 6, Dan. Really, I don't think that they have, and and you can go back on all the podcasts, all the chat.
Yeah, you're a
I
fan.
am a
You love him.
massive,
Yeah.
massive fan of Ben White. Still am, but he's just not at the form or at that level that he got to last season. Listen, he might never get back to that level because he was absolutely outstanding last season. I don't know if that was their level that he peaked and he can't get any better. I don't think his attacking ways have been as brilliant as this season, and defensively, I don't think he hardly got caught out last season, but I've seen him being done a few times this season, which is very, very worrying. Yeah, 6 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, likewise, I can't give him more than that because I've been really disappointed with him going forward. But last season, he was all right going forward at times, and at times he was exceptional at it, but he was always good at the back. And he's been let down. At least been let me down a few times, Ben White, and I've not really seen him play well. And he needs to actually look at his game at the moment and think, right, what is it that's not working? Because for me, there's a talent there that can defend and can go forward. And you are starting to see him overlap a little bit more of late with Saka, but it's not enough. And it's not been impactful enough when he has done those runs. So I want to see more from Ben White. I think it's fair to give him and Raya both a 6 out of 10 because they haven't been nothing special, but they certainly haven't been an absolute shambles at the back. I'm going to bring in next Tomiyasu, man, because Tomiyasu has actually played a lot of games at the back, whether it be at centre back against Brentford, and I think he did against Lons as well. Might be incorrect there, but a couple of games at centre back, played at right back and left back. What are we saying? What are you giving Tomiyasu? Because I think he's been brilliant so far.
I'm giving him an 8. I think he's forced his way in the team, and if I'll be honest, if he was fit this weekend, he would be playing. I'm not sure where he'd be playing, but I would expect him to be playing either right back or left back. I think he's defended really, really well this season. I think the only thing that goes against him is that injury hits side again. You know what I mean? Playing really well and then gets injured. I don't know how long he's going to be out. They've sort of kept that a bit quiet, really, haven't they? How long he's going to be out, But for me, I think been one of our best defenders this season, and has forced his way into the team, Dan. I think he actually forced his way in, whether it be left back or right back. So for me, I think he's been one of the pluses this season.
Yeah, I think he's been one of our best fullbacks, if not our best fullback. I must say, one-on-one defending, I can't fault him. Aerially, I have so much confidence with him. I think when he actually does go backwards and forwards, we've started to see him get involved now, more inverted and go forwards at times. And like you say, he can play right or left back. And if he was fit this weekend, I'd play him at left back ahead of Zinchenko. 100% I would, because he's the only one I worry about. And we'll come into that a bit later. But I'm going to give Tomiyasu an 8 out of 10 because I think he's been consistent. I think he's been very versatile. And I think he deserves that because for me, there hasn't been many that you can rely on at fullback this season, but he's been one of them. So Tomiyasu gets an 8 for me. Let's move over to the left back situation. We had Timber to start with, and he looked phenomenally. He really did.
Yeah.
And then Zinchenko come in, and I thought he stunk the place out for a couple of games. I can't lie. I thought he was dreadful. He was giving the ball away. He was bad defensively. He was caught out. He was getting booked over at the right wing at one stage against Chelsea. I was like, where is this guy playing? What's he doing? And then I think the Burnley at home game onwards, he run the show, and he's been a hell of a lot better, and he's starting to show a little bit more of the Zinchenko that we saw last year. What rating are you going to give Zinchenko, bro?
Very, very hard because I exactly agree what you said there at times. I don't think he's hit the heights of last season. Another one that would be bordering on 8, 9, 10, 9 out of 10 last season. I think there's been better in the last few games, but I think if you're giving Raya a 6, you can't really go any higher for Zinchenko, really, and that's. So I'm going to go a 7, maybe a little bit higher. 6, maybe going on to, we can't go half. So yes, 6, more of a 7 than a 5, if you know what I'm saying. But 6 for me.
Yeah, I can't give him any higher than a 6 because I haven't given any higher to Ben White or Raya, and I think he's been a little bit like that. He's had a bit of moments, and he's had moments that I don't want to remember. I think Zinchenko, if you think about what he has done this season, there's been a lot of good going forward. But again, at the back, mistake against Fulham, which gives them the equalising goal. There was a mistake he made in one of the Champions League games, and also he's made mistakes with goals that we've conceded in the Premier League. So I look at the way that he gives the ball away sometimes. It's frustrating. And then literally, I'm talking 10, 15 seconds later, he's creating and making a run, threatening down the left. That is Zinchenko all over. He might have a cup of tea on the halfway line at times and leave himself exposed. But when he's on the ball, he's phenomenal. Like technically, very, very gifted player. So I can't give him any more than a 6, if I'm honest with you. Wolves. There we go, Jay. Big up, Jay. It was the mistake at the goal against Wolves.
Oh, yes, Wolves. Yes.
Remember?
Yeah.
So
we
for me, yeah. So for me,
played well that day, though. He did play well that day.
He did, man. He did play well. But again, that's him all over, man. Plays well, but concedes a goal. Played all right against Fulham, concedes a goal. So that's the problem we've got with Zinchenko. So I can't give him any more than a 6. I'm going to bring in Jakub Kiwior because as a left centre back, I quite like him as cover. But as a left back, I think he's awful, mate. I'm sorry. I know it might sound harsh because he's a young kid. He's pacey, but you don't look it on the left back situation. We had that Bakayoko against Lons not Lons, PSV the other night, and he was like beating him for pace, and he was doing him inside and out and doing him up like a pretzel. And I thought, this lad is definitely not a left back. What are you going to give Jakub Kiwior? He hasn't played a lot, but when he has played, he's kind of either come on as a sub for a left centre back role or a free at the back, or he's played at left back league.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit sorry for him. He's not, had a run in the side and he's had a run at left back and everything like that. And it's difficult for him, I suppose, to go into there. Found it hard against, was it, what game did he play in Premier League?
Luton.
Luton. Yes.
Yeah.
Tough, but, it was a tough night for everybody there. I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10.
Yeah, see, this is going to sound harsh, but I'm going to give him a 5 because I think he has been worse than Ben White and Zinchenko.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give him a 5. And that's not me saying that I don't rate the player. I just haven't rated his performances at left back enough to give him any higher than that. And I think that he's played there mostly. I understand why Arteta wants to play him there because he's going down this Pep Guardiola route of trying to play a left back, a centre back at left back, and somebody that comes on at Zinchenko's like aid for him to go off and then have someone come in who's a bit more solid, and he just hasn't been that for me, Kiwior. So I'm going to have to be a bit harsh on the lad and say that I want to see more from him. And in fact, I don't actually want to see him as a left back. I think when Simba comes back and Tomiyasu comes back, I think we'll see him come back into the middle if Gabriel was to get a knock. So that's what I'm going to give Kiwior, man. That's it for fullbacks. We go into the centre-back situation. Let's start with Gabriel. I'll kick us off with this one. 9. Right. I think the guy's been phenomenal. I'm so impressed with this signing, and I have been since day dot. I wanted him when he was at Lille, when I told my good friend Manny about him. And Manny is French, and I said to him, "What do you know?" He said, "Monster." That's all he said, and I was like, "Same." I've looked at him; he looks brilliant. Then we signed him, and I must say, when Mikel Arteta had made that signing at 27 million, a lot of people were looking at him. PSG, I think Man United even inquired about him as well. And then since then, he has had some bozo moments and he's had the bozo gene moments at times, but you have to go back a long way for him to have one of those now, Lee. So he's matured at the age of 25, 26 now, which is still young as a footballer, in my opinion. I think the guy's been phenomenal. I do think he's underappreciated by a lot of Arsenal fans because of how good Saliba is next to him. But Gabriel is unbelievable and a compliment to William Saliba, in my opinion. So I'm giving him a 9, man.
Yeah, I've got no hesitations about that neither. I think, since he got back into the team, I think he's going to make mistakes because he's the one that has to, defend a little bit more. He's the one that goes in. He's the one that's more physical. He has to, press that a little bit more, make it look a little bit more, he has to be the one that uses his physical presence and everything like that. I like him. I wouldn't want to play up against him, Dan.
Nah.
I wouldn't want to play up against him. Like, the physical battle. I thought what I liked about him against Brighton was that Ferguson, who I do rate is a very, very good player, he couldn't get his touch right because of the physical presence of him and the way he was pressing and defending and all that. Like, you know, I've got no hesitations about giving him a 9. It will always be a mystery to me why he was left out in those first three.
Yeah, I must admit, Jay's brought it up here how silly Arteta looks leaving him out now. There's something going
Oh,
on there, Lee.
yeah, no, you know, listen, it might be a good moment from Arteta that he might have seen something that he was just being a little bit slack. I don't know. No one knows the reason. It'd be really interesting to know the reason. But since he's come back in, he's got himself into the Brazilian team. He's a regular now for Brazil. I think he's been fantastic this season.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal, mate. He really has. And so's the lad I'm going to mention next, William Saliba. Listen, if Gabriel's getting a 9, I'm giving Saliba a 9 as well, personally.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question as well, Lee, right? People say to me this guy could be as good as Tony Adams and Sol Campbell have been for Arsenal in their careers. Is it arrogant of me or too soon for me to say that actually he could be better than both of those? Because I look at Sol Campbell and Tony Adams and I put them up there in terms of Arsenal legends and Arsenal centre backs. But actually, when you look at William Saliba, he could be a Premier League legend and maybe even more than that yet. I don't know what he's going to be. He's 22 years old. There's no weakness in his game that I see yet anyway. I look at players that I class as top class, best in world type defenders. And I kind of think that he could hit the heights of them. Now, that might be too soon. It might be like crazy, wild take for you. But I honestly believe that players like Baresi, Maldini, Beckenbauers, and Cannavaros, Puyols, and then you might want to go into some of the guys of Rios and Terry's and companies of Premier Leagues. I don't look at any of those names and think, oh, no, Saliba's not going to hit those heights. I think he could, you know.
Well, I've got no doubt that, you know, the only thing that's going to stop him is injury. I've been fortunate enough to see Tony Adams at 20, 18, 19, 20. Martin Keown, who I think was a fantastic defender at that age. Rio Ferdinand coming through. I think Saliba's better than any of them at his age. I've not seen no one better than him as a central defender at his age. I was in awe of him a couple of years ago when I see him in the land. I come back and told you how good I thought he was.
Yeah, I remember.
He's got pace. He bit more pace than Tony Adams. He's got more ball skills and, you know, a bit better footballer than Tony Adams. He's not as physical as Tony Adams. He's not as good in the air as Tony Adams. And he's probably not got the leadership skills of Tony Adams, but he's got everything else. And I think that he's he's up there. I think he's up there now at his age. I really do. I don't see too many players better than him. He's still got a little bit of learning to do and all that, of course. But what I like about him, Dan, is I think that he's not scared or frightened of any player. Look how he dealt with Haaland. He likes that. The bigger, the better the player, bring it on. But I also like the way he's not flustered. He's plays the game, whether it be top player or a team down the bottom league, plays it the same way. He's got time on the ball, likes to play. And I do think him being out of the team last season shows you how good a player he is, even at that age. You know what I mean? That he was missed that much. So I think he's vital to our chances of winning things. And I do think that he's going to get better and better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's a beast. He's not as strong as Gabriel yet, but Gabriel's 2 or 3 years older. So, and I think that people seem to forget that, you know, not in a bad way. It's just the way that he is. That's how good he is. So for me, I haven't seen no one better at that age for a very, very long time. You know, Van Dijk was a good player, but look at he was playing at Celtic and Southampton before he went to.
In fact, I think he was 27 when he came to Liverpool.
Yeah, so like I'm talking, you know what I mean? Was he as good as Saliba when he was 21? No, I don't think he was. I think that. Do you remember we used to go on about? Oh, what was his name? Upamecano.
Upamecano.
Yeah, we was going mad about him for a few years, weren't we? I don't mention him no more, do we? About you know
No,
what I mean? I
no, I
think he
remember all
keeps him
that.
out of Prince Sim in a moment, but we won't look. You know, we was all going, we've got to sign this fella. Like you know,
Yeah.
we don't say that no more because we got Saliba. I just think he's incredible.
Listen, 9 out of 10s for our centre halves, but I'm going to give my first 10 out of 10 next because I'm giving it to Declan Rice, bro.
Yeah,
The reason I'm giving him a 10 is because I ain't seen him do anything yet. He's faultless, mate. The guy is effortless on the pitch. The way he drives forward, he's got everything about his game that I like. I don't think there's a weakness to his midfield game. I think he's a good tackler. I think his interceptions are class. The guy's been booked once in 17 games. That is ridiculous for a defensive midfielder. I think his anticipation is superb. And I think the only thing that potentially I can criticise him about is sometimes he has a little bit of lack of confidence to keep going on the ball. And we saw his drive against Brighton at the weekend where he
yeah,
should have scored. Well, shouldn't have scored really, but you know what I'm saying. Would have
yeah.
been nice to see him score. He takes the ball, he just runs with it, and he just glides, and no one can touch him. I think he's got everything about his game, Lee. I honestly believe everything off the pitch is phenomenal as well. I think it's spot on the way that he handles the media. I think the fact that he's 105 million and not one person has mentioned that as being a bad price tag. When let's be real, it was crazy money when people started discussing it. Oh my God, Arsenal, 105 million for Rice. Crazy. Pants are pulled down. All of these quotes we were given, not one person has said that yet because he's been phenomenal, man. So I'm giving him a 10 out of 10. He's already scored 2 very, very vital last minute goals. And I think he's turning into probably, if not one of my favourite players, if not the. He's been absolutely outstanding, man. So I'm giving him a 10, bruv.
I'm dying to put the chat back on to see what everybody's saying because I'm saying 10 out of 10 as well. Like you know what I mean? I'll be very surprised if everybody is not putting 10 out of 10 with him. Like you know what I mean? And I've got to say this. What you just said there, like I love Martinelli, I love Jesus, I love Saka, but I'm going to say it now. My favourite player is now Declan Rice. My favourite Arsenal player in the team at the moment. I absolutely love the way he plays the game. I love the way he interacts with the fans. I just he's my favourite player now. Like I just really enjoy what he does from midfield. He's just a joy to watch and he just puts in a 9 out of 10 performance every game. I don't think he's gone lower than an 8 in any game. Dan.
Totally. I think I counted up. He's had 7 Arsenal man of the matches now in the 17 games, which people might say, oh, it's only 7, but you don't get man of the match every game, right? That you play. But
Has he won?
He's had 7 man of the matches in terms of. I don't know if it's a man of the match for the game, but say Arsenal have lost the game against, let's say, Newcastle. He was Arsenal's player of the match, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Has he got manager player of the month?
No,
I
don't know how. Kai Havertz got. Maybe he did actually. I don't know. Kai Havertz got it
He's
last.
certainly not one. He's not won Premier League player of the month.
No, he might have had it with Arsenal, but I don't think he's had player of the month. But for me, and I'll say it now, signing of the season. I don't care that he's 105 million.
Player of the season. I'll tell you what. If the season finished now, he's player of the year for players, player and player of the year. I'll be 100%. Very surprised if he ain't player of the year. There's no one got as good as him. You know what I mean? Like, and people turn around and go, "Oh, Rodri's a better midfield." I'm not saying that he is, or he's not. But Rodri has not put in the performances that Declan Rice has.
Well, Rodri needs to stop getting sent off because he's missing 3 games.
Exactly that as well.
So
like,
you can't have that, you know.
I'm with you. I just think he's been absolutely unbelievable.
He's phenomenal, mate. I mean, look, we got in the chat BX Gunner 81 10. Only player that gets a 10 from Jay Myhill. It's right because there's nothing about his game at the moment. You can sit and go, brilliant player, but shame about that, or wish he'd do that a bit more, or got to work on that on his game. If anyone dare changes what he is, or if he dare changes what he is, I'll be disappointed because I'm in love with the geezer. I think he's absolutely outstanding. And, fair play to West Ham fans who did say this guy's ridiculously good. Everyone laughed at him. The only reason they laughed is because it was a West Ham. Without being rude, West Ham don't win trophies. And I know they won their Conference League last year. And he was a massive part of the reason why they did that, by the way, in the previous games where he's driving forward from midfield. A lot of West Ham fans, I know West Ham Paul, good mate of mine, John, who's a West Ham fan, said play him in the 8 and give him the armband and he'll win Arsenal trophies. Let's hope he does, man. Let's hope he wins Arsenal trophies. That's for sure. Listen, I'm going to throw in Jorginho. I'm not going to throw in on any part he's been injured. I'll throw in Jorginho because he has come in and he's done a couple of jobs for us. Um, I'm going to give him a 6, I think, because I'm disappointed with the Tottenham goal. I still can't get that out of my head. Um, I don't know what he's doing there. He's normally so calm on the ball. He's normally such a sideways passer. He's almost like the definition of a crab, isn't he, really? Sideways. And I just feel like that's just so disappointing, has let him down. He's come on and he's not set the world alight, Lee, is what I'm getting at. I'm going to give him a 6, and I'm disappointed by that goal in North London derby, man. What are you saying?
Yeah, I'll get that, but I think a 7 for me. I think he's done okay when he's come in and tidied up things, kept us ticking away when we needed to do. Like, never going to set the world alight, but I do think sometimes you need a player that's going to come in and set things like that up there. So for 7 out of 10 for me, nothing spectacular. But I think that I like the way when he's come in, he's influenced us, not just with his performances, just with his experience and everything like that. So, and I think his experience is going to come in quite handy towards the end of the season as well. Like, so 6 is a little bit harsh for me, but I'll get that. But 7 for me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, BX Gunners 81 has put it on here, 6.5 on the field, 8 on the sidelines coaching. And there's a lot of people say that he does do
very
a
good.
lot.
Very good comment.
Yeah, he's very good on the sidelines. He's always celebrating the goals when he is warming up. He's always apparently one of the first players people talk about in terms of his intelligence and his leadership and his experience. So I think you're right there. There's definitely a player that can have a part in this squad, but I can't give him much eye for that, because when you do that in North London derby, it sticks in my head, mate. I tell you that, and pisses me off. Let's go with Martin Odegaard. Very mixed bag this season from some. I'm going to say it now. I think he's picked up his form at the last few games, though, mate. I think he's been running the show. What are you going to give him out of 10?
Well, do you know what? I think he has been injured. I think that he's had that comeback from that, and he's been a lot better, and because of his performances over the last few games, 7 out of 10 for me. He's not at the heights of last season, by no chalk of the imagination, but he's a higher 7 than a lower 7, if I'll be honest. The last couple of games, I think he's been brilliant, but he has missed a couple of chances. But in saying that, he missed a sitter at Villa Park last season. He's done it again this season. But I thought he was brilliant on Sunday, and there's been question marks of him and everything like that, but I think he answered a few that day. And also, I have to say that, it's not quite going for him up front and all that, but when it clicks, I think we're going to be pushing on another. But I'm going to say it now. By the end of the season, I'd be very surprised if we're not going 8-9 on him, you know what I mean? But it's slow burner. But at the moment, at 7, which is not a disgrace.
No, by any means. I'm going to agree with Jay Maihu. I'm going to give him a 7 just because of his last few performances. But if it weren't for that, I probably would be tempted to give him a Ben White and Zinchenko 6. I really love Martin Odegaard, and people seem to think that I hate him because I once said that I thought James Maddison was better. It's mad because he's an unbelievable footballer and he's sensational. He does frustrate me at times because I wish he'd shoot more. I wish he would not take on that perfect pass to try and score that perfect goal. The only thing about that is he's a risk taker, and when it does pay off, it looks phenomenal. So I understand why he wants to have that in his locker. I do think that the goals will come more as well. We've started to see him score a few already. He scored in the last few games, but he has also missed chances. And I think sometimes I want to see him bury chances, but actually I want to see him shoot more as well, Lee, because outside the box, he can actually have a dig sometimes and have a crack. So if he actually improves out on his game, I think he'll get towards what he got last season, which I think was 15, which is phenomenal. So I'm going to give Martin Odegaard a 7, man. I'm not going to rate Smith Rowe because I don't think he's played enough. Likewise, Fabi Vieira hasn't really. I mean, if he would have continued from his start of the season where he got a couple of assists, I think he might have started to be able to get a good rating, but he's come off due to injury. So I'm going to go with Kai Havertz next, mate. This, I think, again, from Brentford onwards is, let's be fair to him, like an 8 out of 10, maybe even more, because he's been one of our best players since he scored that last-minute header against Brentford. But as the whole season, I'm not going to give him an 8. So what are you going to give him, bruv?
Do you know what? I think he was from Brentford. He's been sensational from that game there. I thought there was a couple of games in before that he was doing okay and all that. But I think that you've got. I'm giving him a solid 7 because of those performances in the last few weeks. I think he's been brilliant this last month. He has. There's no two ways about it. He's contributed with goals. He's a goal threat now for us. Even the game against Aston Villa, that he was in there at the end there. I thought he done okay in that game. I don't think he's taking games by the scruff of the neck and winning games and sending us through, but he's being part of what we're doing well. He's very, very much part of it. He is a goal threat. I like his physicality, and I think, the last few games, if you're saying about Martin Odegaard's push on, he's pushed on a little bit higher with his performances, if I'll be honest. So, yeah, solid 7 for me.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I actually agree with what BX Gunner 81 has said in the chat. 6.5. Oh no, sorry, wrong one. Where is it? Here we go. Since Brentford, an 8. Beforehand, a 5 or a 6. I actually agree with that, and
Yeah,
that's why I'd go
exactly
slap
that.
bang in the middle. That's why I go
Yeah,
slap bang in the middle with a 7. That's what I'm going to give him,
yeah,
because the last month he's been one of our better players, and that's kind of hard for some people to say because they were so against him. I was actually not against him. That's the wrong word. Doubtful of him. Had concerns about him. Always wanted him. I wanted him to be a 10. I wanted him to be the best
yeah.
player on the pitch. But I just didn't see it, Lee. I kind of always give up with this guy. I was like, look, the guy's just, it's not working for him. And then I think we started to see a little bit of a change with Mikel Arteta's tactics. And I'm going to give the manager a bit of credit for Kai Havertz here. I think he's starting to drop Erdegaard a little bit deeper and play Kai Havertz a little bit further forward, and that has definitely done him favours. Now, I do think he's actually quite good defensively, Kai Havertz. I don't actually think he's that bad. I think he can break up play. I think he can get stuck in. He presses well, and he does give it. He's got that bit of a Chelsea nastiness about him as well. But actually, when you look at him going forward, I've been really impressed with some of his attributes of late, and I do give the manager credit for that. So I'm going to give Kai Havertz a 7. For him to have a good season, Lee, what does he need to achieve numbers-wise, goals and assists-wise for you?
Oh, carry on doing what he's doing. I think, like, what's he got now? 5 goals? Is it 5 goals?
I think it's something like 4 goals, 2 assists.
4 goals. Well, he's got to get into double figures on goals, and probably the same on assists. And I think that he's heading that way. I love it when he scores. I love it. Keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that he's getting better and better. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't finish off the season with 10 goals. And I think that then people will turn around and go, well, that's a good first season for him. I'm seeing lots of things that I like about him at this moment in time. But what he's got to do is stay consistent, Dan. It's no good now dropping off now. He's got to continue it and try and go a little bit more further forward. As I said, I don't think 2 months ago he would have scored that goal he scored on Saturday. I think, when he went through, I knew he was going to score. You know what I mean? Like, 2 months ago you wouldn't have. So I'm liking what I see of him. I think that, yeah, I think at the end of it we're going to be all very, very surprised about his numbers. But listen, sometimes numbers don't make you've had a great season. Like, I think Saka's numbers, we're going to go on to Saka in a minute, numbers are pretty good, but he's nowhere near at the level he was last season. So I think that sometimes stats can be a little bit, I think, he's contributing in games. He's getting stuck in. There's no stat on that, like getting stuck in. There was a real, and if you want to watch it, go and have a watch it on Twitter about Havertz against Newcastle, where what he was getting kicked, getting pushed. He's very, very physical in that day, but no one says anything. So I think his physicality has been a good thing for us, So, and I'm liking what I'm seeing of him of late.
Yeah, listen, I think all Gooners are liking what they're seeing from Kai Havertz of late. So let's hope it continues, man. I've just checked; he's got 4 goals and 1 assist, so he's well on his way to double figures in goals. Let's move on to Bukayo Saka. I think you've summed it up. His goals probably ain't that. His goals and assists in both the competitions, in all competitions, should I say, is probably not that dissimilar to what he had last season. However, his performances last season were backing up the goals and assists that he was getting, and this season, not so much. I think he got back to his best maybe a couple of weeks ago. Now he's starting to drop off again. I think he's been a bit of a zigzag Saka. He's starting to see glimpses at his best, and he goes back down again. I don't think he's always been given the amount of rest that he deserves, if I'm honest. But I can't give him less than a 7, Lee, because the goals and assists are there.
Yeah.
When he has a bad game, he crosses the ball to Trossard to get us a point at Stamford Bridge. When he has a bad game, he puts the ball in and someone gets on the end of it. When he has a poor game, he's hardly seen against Brentford. Crosses the ball, Kai Havertz is there for his first goal.
Yeah.
I look at it and I think, yeah, we need you, man. So I'm giving him a 7, bruv.
Yeah, I think he's 7 higher a 7 than a lower 7. But I do think that he's being targeted, not in a nasty way, by being doubled up. Look at even Brighton are a very very attack minded side, doubling up on him and things like that. He's got to learn how to deal with that. I watch Kulusevski at Tottenham at the moment. Everybody's going, "How brilliant he is!" Like, well, no one's putting 2 men on him at this moment in time. Like, start putting 2 men on him, see what'll happen. I just think that at this moment in time, he's got to learn that. I think he's coming through it. And as you say, when he's finding it tough, and he has found it a little bit tougher this season, he's still delivering.
Mm.
And I do think that there's more to come. What worries me is I watched him against Brighton, watching it, and you could see 15 minutes from the end, he was completely and utterly shattered. He went on a run and he couldn't get back afterwards and all that. Like, Mikel's got to take him off a little bit more at times. You know what I mean? Like, Nelson should have come on 10 minutes before that, just to run around and do what he done, like, you know what I mean? Because he physically couldn't do it no more, Dan. I think that we are seeing him close to burnout. I think it's all right now. We haven't got these Champions League games. Have a nice rest. I think we'll see a little bit better of him over the next few weeks. But more to come, definitely. 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, big up, man. Let's move to Martinelli. Probably one of my favourite players. Frustrates me when I see his numbers. Doesn't frustrate me when I see his performances in terms of his work rate. But I do need to see him starting impacting games, Lee. And I've not seen it this season. 2 goals. I understand he scored one at Everton that was disallowed. That would have been 3, but still not good enough when you look at what he was performing at last season. He was one of our best players last year. He was always sticking in with the goals. He was giving 110. He was backwards and forwards. The tenacity is still there. The work rate, the press is still there. He's still trying to create, but it's not quite coming off for Martinelli at the moment. And I'm going to give him a 7 because of his work rate and because he's giving 110, but it's closer to a 6, if I'm honest, for Martinelli this season. And I hate saying that because he's one of my faves.
Yeah, well, he's my favourite apart from Declan Rice now. Probably still is my favourite, if I'll be honest. Martinelli, I love him. But 6 out of 10 for me. I don't think he's hit nowhere near the levels of last season. Nowhere near to what he was compared to last season. I thought he was
I'm going to have to agree with you. I think I'm being kind because I love him. If I'm honest with you, he has been a 6, hasn't he? He has been.
2 goals this year, nowhere near. He's been injured as well. Don't forget he's had a long period when he got that hamstring injury. I think that he was on fire before that. If you remember that he scored that goal against Everton, which actually got injured in, and then it was ruled out.
That's
or
right.
Was it, or he scored the goal? No, he scored the goal, didn't he?
No, it got ruled out, and then Trossard had to score a winner, didn't he? Do you remember?
That's right. Yeah,
half, he come
that's
off,
right. And he got injured on
the
that.
reason he come off was because he was in bloody Brazil playing.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, and then he come on, he scored, and it got ruled out, didn't it? That's right. And then Trossard scored in the second half, wasn't it? Like, so. Missed big games for us, missed the North London. Listen, when he's playing, even if he's still a 6 out of 10, he gets in my team because he's dangerous, but he's not quite at the levels of last season. And I think that if he does start hitting those sort of levels, Arsenal are going to be right up there, because I do think he is probably one of our key players. Really is, but he's not quite at the heights of last season. So 6 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, that's fair, man. Let's move on to Trossard, because for me, player of the pre-season, I thought him and Timber. I thought he was phenomenal, particularly against Barcelona. If you remember, he was absolutely outstanding that night.
That game, yeah, brilliant, wasn't he?
And then he didn't really start the season as I expected. He did actually score the winning, or no, I say the winning. It was the goal that took it to penalties in the Community Shield. I know it's deflection, but he came on and changed the game for us there and give us a chance there to beat Man City. And then he started to come on and show glimpses. He scored in the Everton game, which we just spoke about, to win us the game 1-0. He's played in almost every position, whether it be right wing, left wing, false 9, number 10, attacking 8, and up top. I think he's a great player for Arsenal squad in terms of his versatility, Lee, and I love his quick feet and the way that he plays football. Little bit disappointing in the last few games, judges.
Yeah, mixed bag for me. Mixed bag. And the last few games, he's not been quite at it, but don't underestimate his job, what he has to do at times. Comes on. I remember Chelsea away. This with poor performance on the end of it, gets us a point. will be vital on Saturday, whether it's coming on to win it or coming on to try and save it for us or whatever, like, you know. So 7 out of 10 for me, because I think it's a lot more difficult for someone that's in and out, dipping in and out of the team. And there has been performances when I've been I'm very disappointed with him against Aston Villa when he's come on. And then I was very disappointed with him when he started one game. And then looking at the game against Brighton, he comes on and produces magic. So, you know, I'm a big fan of his and admiration, because you need players like him. You need players like him that are going to come in one week, not the next, then go again. But not quite at the levels of last season, another one, but it's contributed with some important goals and you know, the brave header. Do you remember the header at the back post he scored?
Yeah.
So he's contributed. So 7 out of 10 for me.
I think that's fair. I think that is fair. If I'm honest with you, I'm going to agree with you. Let's move to Gabriel Jesus. Yet again, another injury hit half of his season so far. But when he has played, he's given 110%. The work rate is there. He's an absolute workhorse, if I'm honest. He's a monster. Has played right wing a couple of times as well, Lee, when Saka has either needed a rest or been out. And then when he's up top, I think he improves the two players around him. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10, but if I could give him a 7.5, I would, because I do think the work rate is phenomenal. And I don't think he gets the credit he deserves sometimes, because he's in a position that if you don't score, you must have had a bad game. And it's just not that with Gabriel Jesus. I don't know how to explain it. I don't really know many strikers like him, Lee, if I'm honest, where you can actually go through 90 minutes and think, you're one of the best players on the pitch. Did you score? No. Did you set one up? No. Well, how was he one of the best players on the pitch, though? But he was, you know. So I'm going to give him a 7, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. Listen, I think that if he'd have played all season in the way he has been playing, he'd have been on a lot more goals, and we'd be going 8, 9. I just love watching him play. He just does something that excites me, like a little turn here. He unlocks defences. Look at the game against Wolves with that pass. He didn't score that game, but that pass to Shinchenko, and then he cuts it back. You know, there's not many players that can do that. The turn in Seville.
Seville away was his best game for me.
It was awesome. He was awesome. And he got injured in that game, like, you know. If he's now, I think, going into the game on Saturday, in the peak of his powers, back to where he was. I thought, you know, he poached his goal on Saturday. I thought he contributed. He looked sharp and all that. Now he's fit. I think that assist and game against Seville, that was as good as a performance from Arsenal this season, and he was the catalyst of it, and he always will be. If Jesus plays well, Arsenal have got a good chance, and if he's on form on Saturday, they're going to find that very, very hard to contain him. And the good thing is, now that he's in the team, is that if you want to go doubling up on Martinelli, you want to double up on Saka, you cannot double up on Jesus. You know what I mean? If you want to do that, then Odegaard's going to have some space. And I think maybe because they're doing that, that's what's causing Havertz to get involved a little bit more, getting a bit more freedom in the box. This is the reason now why Arsenal, I think, will do well now, because you can double up on everybody. And Jesus now, you leave him at your peril. You leave him at your peril, like, you know. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's the match winner. If anybody's the match winner on Saturday, it'd be him. So he's getting back to his best. And when he gets back to his best, you know, listen, the reason he was outstanding going up until the World Cup was because of him. Yeah. I have to say that. And then he's had that injury, and he's not been quite the same since that injury, and he's come back. But looking at his fitness level, he works his socks off, you know, he runs himself into the ground, you know. He's just a menace. And look at that, he's got power as well. He's strong, big fan, but he's not been around as much as he should be. So 7 out of 10.
I think it's fair, man. I really do. Listen, the last player I want to mention is Eddie Nketiah. It's actually our top scorer in all competitions, Eddie Nketiah, this season, which is why I'm going to give him a 7. I think sometimes he frustrates the hell out of me, if I'm honest. I can't lie. He comes on and just offers nothing, or he comes on and either creates something and scores a goal, or more than likely he starts in the League Cup games, the Champions League group stages, some of the Europa League games of last year, or he comes in and does a job when Jesus is there, and he does get on the score sheet. He scored against teams such as Nottingham Forest at home, Fulham at home, got a hat-trick at Sheffield United at home, got a couple of Champions League goals to his name as well, which is why he's our top scorer. But against the big teams, Lee, home or away, I just don't have the faith in Eddie like I should. So I am going to give him a 7 because I think he deserves his flowers for the goals that he has scored. But I can't really give him much more than that, judges.
No, I'm totally agree with you. 7 out of 10 for me. I think, you just said it all with his goals that he scored. Yeah, the frustration when he just comes on and strolls around at times when he doesn't put the work in that he has when he starts, and I don't understand that. Then he comes on Saturday, contributes with a lovely pass, and very, very dangerous. But there was a chance. Was it against Wolves when he went through 1-on-1 at the post? He has been lively. It's just he's not quite at the levels of the other three, and that's nothing against him. And people, it's not criticism. It's hard to get to the levels of those front three. You know what I mean? Trossard ain't getting in the team because of it. You know what I mean? Nelson's not going to get in the team of it, and also the same with Jesus. You know what I mean? So 7 out of 10. I'd like hopefully he can continue to do well as well.
Yeah, facts. Absolutely. I want to see all Arsenal players do well, of course. When it comes to being ruthless, if I was to be, then he, along with about 3 or 4 others, would be upgraded on. And people might think that's harsh. And if Eddie wants to place his third choice striker in the squad, be my guest. But as far as I'm concerned, he's one player that I think we do need to upgrade on, along with quite a few others. Daniel Bates has asked, how was the Chinese tonight, Lee?
I'll just put a chat back on. Yeah, just say I'll see Dan in the Chinese today, So yeah, lovely to see you, Dan. Yeah, the Chinese was very nice, mate, wasn't it? So I haven't seen Dan for a while, and he was in there with his missus, and so lovely to see you, Dan. And
nice one.
He was a good centre forward in his day. You know what I mean? Give it his all up there, So very brave. Lovely to see him, and he's a big gooner as well, So
big up, Dan. Big up, Dan. Thanks for being in the chat, bro. Listen, let's do some rumours quick because Ivan Toney is picking up. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means it's true. I don't know if it means it could happen or that it is going to happen. But there's a lot of rumours that are suggesting that Arsenal are favourites to get Ivan Toney, and Ivan Toney wants Arsenal, and Brentford are going to allow it to happen. Now, I don't know where these rumours have come from. It could be the Daily Mirror. It could be the Daily Sport. I have absolutely no idea, and I don't look, if I'm honest, into too much of it until Fabrizio Romano or Ornstein say this is happening. But I do get excited when I hear the words wants to come to Arsenal, because when a player wants to come to Arsenal, that means I want them. Now, within reason, when someone wants to come to Arsenal that's down in League Two, I'm not as excited. But when it's a player like Ivan Toney, I do get excited, Lee, because I think he's exactly what we need. And if I was Manchester City and Liverpool and Villa, we have to respect them, I would look at January, no matter what happens in the next 3 games, hopefully it will go well for us, and I'd go, that's not what I want to see. Ivan Toney going to Arsenal. That's not good. And that's why I think we've got to try and make it happen. Now, people will say that we're being looked at by FFP. I don't think we are. I think from what people are telling me that I know that are well into the finances, which I'm not into numbers at all, they're saying that we're being cautious around FFP, which is why we tried to look at the David Raya deal as a £3 million loan with £27 million coming next year if we want to buy him. But we've just been given £72 million for qualifying in the Champions League last 16. So that means there is money there to spend. Whether that's enough to get Ivan Toney or not, I have no idea. What's your honest opinion about this one, judges? Is Ivan Toney going to be an Arsenal player in January?
I don't know. I think Jay sums it up there. Mudryk was the same like the last year and all that. I'm not getting into all of this. If they sign him, for me, I would be looking to do it because I'd say to him, right, you can have Eddie as part of that deal, make it a little bit easier. Something like that. Maybe a Smith Rowe would have to go or someone like that to balance the books. I don't know. You know what I mean? Listen, if Arsenal got him, it would be a massive push towards us doing well in the title race. if Arsenal are to get him, I think they've got to get him early because, you know, you've got those FA Cup tie and everything like that. You know, he needs to get games under his belt. You know, it's one that, you know, it's a lot of money, but at the end of the day, Arsenal spent big on Rice, so I don't think there's any worries about that. Like, you know, but at the end of it, I'm not going to get over about these transfers and everything like that. What will be, will be. I think that Arsenal do, you know, if there's an opportunity to sign him and they've got a chance to sign him, I think they'd be mad not to. But whether they've got the chance or not, I don't know. You know, all this thing, oh yeah, he wants to go to Arsenal. He's turned down this team. He's turned down that. Well, you know, I've seen Mudryk say exactly the same, and there he is playing in a Chelsea shirt and celebrating when he scored a goal the other night. So I'm not going to go down that route. Whatever happens, what will be, Dan. What will be, will be.
Well, listen, old Lawless in the chat had sent earlier ZRIFC. No idea if that's a reliable source. However, he's quoted it from David Ornstein, who has said that Ivan Toney will most likely stay at Brentford until at least the summer. No developments on his future. Arsenal are not interested in Dominic Solanke, and they're not planning to sign Douglas Luiz. He's not wanted at the club. So who knows, Lee? Who knows where we're at? I believe that we are looking at a couple of transfers. I don't know if we're going to get them. I know that for a fact we are, from what I hear from people I rate at the club anyway, they believe that in midfield and up top, we are still short. And I think that's clear to see. I don't think that's any like really wow
Yeah,
scratch your head moment. I think we don't have a box to box midfielder other than Declan Rice, and I think we've got Jesus, who's a centre forward that we have a back up to where the usual right, and we can probably upgrade on. You know, I don't think it's unfair to say that Jorginho and El Neni might need upgrading. I don't think it's unfair to say that Nelson and Eddie Nketiah, or maybe even Fabio Vieira, might need upgrading. I don't think that's harsh to say that. I don't think it's harsh to say that if Saliba was to get a knock, we might need to look at another right-sided centre-back instead of shifting one of the others in the middle. I think they're all normal things to say. I don't think that's wild takes at all. But we're not going to get all of that business done in January. We need to look at what the priority of those positions are. And I think a centre-forward and a midfielder would definitely improve us on where we want to be. And I think that moving forward, if we're going to go and compete with the likes of Man City for this league and compete in the Champions League, which we're now in this season, I think those two positions need to be filled. So I hope that we can get them both sorted, man. I really do.
I do. And I think if the opportunity comes along and there's a player available, Arsenal will go for it. That's what I feel like. You know, if it can get done, Arsenal will do business.
Listen, that's a good way. Listen, we can't leave it without going into this weekend. It's absolutely huge at Anfield. First question, are you going?
Yes, I am going, like, you know, so looking forward to it. And people might think that I'm mad when I say this. I've dreaded going to Liverpool over the last few years. You know what I mean? Like, really, like, dreading it. Like, no, I don't want to go there. You know what's coming. I said on the show earlier on today, I've gone up there thinking and hoping that we might win with Rob Holding, Chambers, Mustafi, David Luiz playing central defenders now. I go there, up there with Saliba and Gabriel as a central defensive partnership. Ben White, I go there with, like, you know, Shinchenko is still a top player. You know, Declan Rice in my team now. So yes, I'm going to go there and feel confident about it, like, you know, and hopefully we can win the game, like, you know. I think it's a massive game for us. I think that Liverpool are a good side, but they're not as good as they were a couple of years ago, right? And what I will say, and I'll say it again, when we weren't quite as good as what we are now, Liverpool come to us and they turned us over. Manchester City come to us and turned us over. We have to do that to these guys now. Like, you know what I mean? We've missed an opportunity against Villa. I thought we was better against Villa and missed it, the opportunity. We have to take our chances in this game. If we get a chance in the first 5-10 minutes and miss it, I'll be fuming, because I don't think you need that first chance we get, we need to take it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so I've got a feeling that we might do it. Listen, we was much better team than them last season, Dan, and we still didn't beat them. So it's not no easy place to go to.
No.
But you know, I'm going up there with optimism, and that's the way I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the game. We might not win it, but and we might lose it. But at the end of the day, I'm feeling a lot more confident going up there than than I have done over the last few years, you know. And when we've gone up there and we've got stuff 5-1 and 4-1 and all that, like, I've come out there going, oh well, it was expected. You know, now I'm going up there thinking, you know what, we can get this one. We can get over the line. And I think if we can get over on the line on this one, it'd be a fantastic thing for us, Dan. Fantastic.
Yeah, mentally it will be unbelievable, and it will prove that Arsenal can go to a huge ground like that and take 3 points. Listen, if we do take a point, depending on how we take the point, I will say, because last year was disappointing. I'm not going to sit there and cry about it, because a point at Anfield, not many people get, right? Probably the hardest ground to go to, in fact. It's probably harder than Old Trafford. He had all the others, in my opinion, anyway. So I'm not going to sit there and cry about it, but I do think we can beat him, Lee. And there's 200 people in the chat. I want to ask you to do us a favour. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and put your predictions in the chat. Let us know what you think the score is going to be. I think this game is going to be won in midfield, Lee. And I think Arsenal have got a better midfield than Liverpool. Arsenal's midfield of Rice, Ødegaard, and I think will be Havertz. I think will be too good and too big for the players that they've got. And I like McAllister. I think Szoboszlai is creative. I think Curtis Jones gives his all. But when I look at it, we should really be dominating that. Now, they might play Endo, who's their holding midfielder, who's played well of the last couple of games. But I still think we can dominate it. I think defensively, Arsenal are better. I think Gabriel and Saliba have proved that. And the trio of those two and Rice always give you a chance away from home. And that's why I believe we have got a big chance. But, and this is a huge but, that front four can't have a bad game like they have had in the last few years.
No, they've all got to be on
chances. They've all got to be on form. They've all got to get a sniff, you put it in. None of this mucking around and flicking it and trying to score the perfect goal. And you got a chance, you put it in. And I think we can do it. Now, they're going to score. I tell you that now, because they've got an unbelievable front line when they're all fit. Diaz, Salah, Nunez. They've got Jota and Gakpo to come back into the side, and Gakpo scored again last night. Curtis Jones on fire last night. Szoboszlai scored a great bullet goal. I mean, West Ham were poor, I must say. But they'll give them that confidence. They'll want to get bounce-back ability from that 0-0 disappointing draw at Man United. So it's going to be very, very tough. But I do think that we can get something from the game. I'm going to ask you for your prediction. I do think it's going to be a draw. I do think we can win, but I don't think we will. I think it's going to be 2-2. What about yourself, bruv?
Oh, I'm going to go for Arsenal to win this 2-1. And the reason I do think is because I think that Liverpool will be a little bit more cautious, but I think for the first time in a little while, Shackle's going to be off of Martinelli and Saka, and I think that they will produce. I think that they will produce. You know, if Trent decides to go inside, which can happen, and which he has done on every occasion I've seen him at Anfield, you're giving Martinelli a lot of space out there, and I think that Martinelli is the one that will exploit. Martinelli is going to come good on this game here, like he did last season. He caused a lot of problems down that right-hand side. He'll do it again this season, and I think that our two wide players, Saka, Martinelli on the score sheet, Liverpool 1, Arsenal 2. And I tell you what, listen, all through my life, you don't really get that many wins at Anfield. So they're always very, very tough. It's a tough place to go. But I think Arsenal will do it this time.
Big up, man. Big up. Listen, do us a favour. We're going to leave it there. My prediction is 2-2. Lee's is 2-1. I really hope that Lee's right and I'm wrong. Make sure you do us a favour. Leave a like on this video, please, and subscribe to the channel and get us to our next target, which is 40k, people. So let's get us there quickly. If you do want a laugh, and I'm serious when I say this, then please come over to my channel, Football's 12th Man Podcast, and look at tonight's show and whiz it on to around about 42 minutes. And listen to Deji, the Spurs fan, try and tell me that Spurs have a strong squad as Arsenal and thinks they're going to finish above Arsenal this season. So if someone wants to laugh, then please go and check my channel out. Come over and hit a sub. We're getting very close to 13k now. I'm on about 12.8, so only a couple of hundred away, people. So if you could come and support myself as well as this channel, that would be amazing. Lee, enjoy the weekend, mate. I'm sure I'll speak to you after it. And there's one last thing to say. Merry Christmas to you all, because I don't think we'll get to catch up before it. If we do, great stuff. If not, we wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
Like Merry Christmas to everybody. We'll try and get one. I don't know. We'll try and do something.
Yeah.
After Liverpool game, especially if it goes well. Even if
I want to say it just in case though, because what I don't want to do is
even if it's Christmas morning. If we've won, I might have to get it on here Sunday morning or something.
We'll do something. We'll definitely do something.
We'll do something like we'll try. I'll try and sort something out if we've won. But if we don't, have a lovely, lovely Christmas and enjoy yourselves and don't get too drunk out there.
Big up, people. We'll see you next time. Up the Arsenal.